อิสราเอลเปิดปฏิบัติการภาคพื้นดินในกาซาหลังข้อตกลงหยุดยิงล่มเปิดปมสงครามระลอกใหม่กาซาจะเกิดสันติภาพได้จริงหรือไม่ทันโลกอันคอเวอร์เปิดใจผู้แทนอิสราเอลกับฮามาส
I think that all of us would have hoped that this will not be necessary. The first part or the first phase of the deal that actually brought to the release of several of our hostages. At the same time, since the last 17 or 18 days, when the first phase was over, we were really hoping to see the second phase starting to be negotiated. The special envoy of the American president, Mr. Steve Witkoff, actually presented two suggestions to the Palestinians. They rejected both of them. So at that point, we asked ourselves, what are we doing? How can we make sure that our hostages, we still have 59 hostages being held by Hamas in Gaza. We're asking ourselves, what are we going to do with, in order to release them? How can we ensure that they will be released out of the, when we hear the stories, when you see the people that came out on the first phase, you realize the torture, the starvation, the physical torture, and also the emotional and psychological torture that these people are going through. And we are doing everything we can in order to release the hostages, in order to make sure that all of them will be back home. Israel was targeting at specific infrastructure that Hamas has been rebuilding and trying to reconstruct since the beginning of this of the ceasefire that we held. So we need to make sure that 7th of October 2023 will never return. It can never happen again.
Your Excellency, do you think there is still room for a diplomatic solution, or has the cycle of violence made negotiations impossible?
So first I would like to say I don't think we can call it a cycle of violence. Israel here is the victim from the beginning. We have to use force in order to survive, in order to exist. We never wanted to start any violence against our neighbors, and we are happy to stop using violence if from the other side we won't be dealing with vicious and.
So, in your opinion, what is the main reason that Israel launched the ground operation in Gaza again?
Israel has made it very clear from day one that they are intent on committing genocide and depopulating the Gaza Strip. Now, this settler colonial mentality, has its own agenda. They do not want Palestinians to stay in Palestine, neither in Gaza nor in the West Bank. Israel, in the very first start of this regime, committed ethnic cleansing and war crimes in 1947, 1948. Israel killed thousands of Palestinians and forced 700,000 Palestinians out of their homelands. So 7 years later, what Israel is committing in Gaza now is not unique. It's something that it has done before. What Israel is doing now is finishing an unfinished business. So when the ceasefire took place, the Israeli leadership came to a realization that in order to finish the job, they have to continue with fighting. They wanted to take their captives out of Gaza first and then carry out or continue their genocide.
Okay. Last week I talked to the Israeli ambassador to Thailand, and she said 2 points that I found it's very interesting. She said that Israel was targeting a specific infrastructure that Hamas has been rebuilding and trying to reconstruct since the beginning of the ceasefire. And the special envoy of the American president, Mr. Steve Witkoff, actually presented two suggestions to the Palestinians, but Hamas rejected both of them. What is your take?
So when Israeli spokespersons and Israeli diplomats come out and talk about destroying Hamas infrastructure, they practically mean killing more innocent civilians, but they have to sugarcoat it. They have to use terminology that Israel sympathizers would endorse. Number two, for the proposal to reach a ceasefire, the American envoys who met with the Palestinian officials a few days ago, including the special envoy for hostages, know very well that the Palestinian resistance was open to a practical solution. They were open to any ceasefire deal that would bring about stability and peace. But in the case of the Israelis, they are not interested in a lasting ceasefire. They are only interested in a temporary halt of fighting, a short pause in which they take out their captives from Gaza, the remaining Israeli soldiers in Gaza, and once this is over, they resume the killing and the genocide.
Mr. Muslim, do you think there is still room for a diplomatic do you think there is still room for a diplomatic solution, or has the cycle of violence made negotiations impossible?
Yes, there is definitely a space and a place for diplomacy and peaceful solution. The problem is that the current Israeli administration is not interested in peace or diplomacy. For Netanyahu and his far-right coalition to stay in power, they need war. They feed on war. If peace prevails, he and his government have to answer the international community. Why aren't you fulfilling the promises made in the peace process?
อิสราเอลกับฮามาสต่างมีจุดยืนแตกต่างกันอย่างสิ้นเชิงผู้ได้รับผลกระทบจากความขัดแย้งหนีไม่พ้นชาวปาเลสไตน์ที่ต้องสังเวยชีวิตจากสงครามรอบใหม่